The insurance claim notification hit my phone at 0347 hours, and I knew immediately that someone had stolen my life. I'm Captain Griffin Donovan, 32 years old, U.S. Army Infantry, currently stationed at Fort Benning, Georgia on my third rotation. Been awake for 18 hours straight, running tactical exercises when my phone buzzed with an alert from my insurance app. Auto claim filed. Vehicle totaled. Payout pending. $47,300. Problem was, my 2019 Ford F-150 was sitting in long-term storage back in Columbus, Georgia. Had been for 8 months. I stared at the screen in my barracks. The claim showed my truck wrapped around a telephone pole in Denver, Colorado. Photos attached. License plate matched mine exactly. VIN number matched. Insurance policy number matched. Even had my signature on the digital claim forms. But I'd never been to Denver in my life. My hand stayed steady as I scrolled through the details. Claim filed 3 days ago. Adjuster already assigned. Check processing for direct deposit into my account. Everything looked legitimate except for one small detail. I was supposed to be the one filing it. I pulled up my banking app. No unusual deposits yet, but the insurance company had my correct routing numbers, my correct address, my correct phone number. Someone had accessed everything. The timestamp on the claim showed 2:17 p.m. Mountain Time, Tuesday. I checked my duty roster. Tuesday I was running live fire exercises from 0600 to 1,800 hours. 47 witnesses could place me on base. I screenshot everything. Then I called the insurance company's fraud hotline. This is Captain Donovan. Someone filed a false claim using my information. The representative pulled up my file. Sir, I show the claim was filed by you directly through our mobile app. Used your login credentials and security questions. I'm deployed. I haven't touched that app in months. The system shows the claim was filed from your registered device, an iPhone 13 Pro. I looked down at my iPhone 13 Pro, same device I'd had for 2 years. Can you tell me what IP address was used? I'm not authorized to release that information, sir. You'll need to file a formal dispute. I hung up and opened my laptop. Started digging through my digital footprint, email accounts, social media, banking apps. Everything looked normal on the surface. Then I found it. A new email address had been added to my insurance account as a backup contact. Created 6 months ago. The address was griffindonovan.backup@gmail.com. Close enough to look legitimate. Different enough to redirect notifications. Someone had been planning this for half a year. I pulled up my recent login history across all platforms. Banking, insurance, credit monitoring, everything. Most logins showed my correct location, Fort Benning, Georgia, but scattered throughout were logins from Denver, Colorado, always during my duty hours when I couldn't have been online. My phone buzzed again. Text message from an unknown number. Hope you're enjoying your Griffin. Thanks for the truck money. The text message hit like a sniper's bullet. Clean, precise, devastating. I stared at the screen. Thanks for the truck money. Someone was taunting me. Someone who knew exactly what they'd done. I called my bank's fraud line immediately. Waded through the automated system. Finally reached a human. This is Captain Griffin Donovan. Account number ending in 4782. I need to check for any unusual activity. The representative typed for 30 seconds. Sir, I show a large withdrawal from your savings account yesterday. $15,000. Transferred to an external account. My blood went cold. I didn't authorize any transfer. The transaction was initiated through your mobile banking app. Used your login credentials and two-factor authentication. I'm deployed overseas. I haven't accessed that account in weeks. Sir, our system shows the transfer was requested from your registered device, the same device you're calling from now. I hung up and immediately called my credit union. Same story. Another withdrawal, $8,000. Same method, same device authentication. $23,000. Gone. I opened my laptop and started building a timeline. The insurance claim was just the beginning. Someone had been systematically draining my accounts for weeks. Small amounts at first. 500 here. 1,000 there. Amounts I might not notice while deployed. Then yesterday, they'd gotten greedy. I pulled up my gaming history. For the past 2 years, I'd spent my downtime playing online with a group of guys I'd met through a military gaming forum. We'd run raids together, talked about stress, shared stories about home. One name kept coming up in my memory, Marcus Chen. We'd connected over our shared love of tactical shooters. He'd mentioned being a veteran himself, said he understood the grind. I scrolled through our chat history. Hundreds of conversations. I'd shared details about my timeline, my base location, even complained about banking issues when my cards got flagged for overseas use. Marcus had been sympathetic, helpful even. He'd suggested I set up automatic transfers to avoid banking holds, recommended specific apps for managing finances while deployed, apps that required extensive personal information to set up. I found our first conversation from 18 months ago. Marcus had reached out after seeing my post about prep. Said he'd been through 3 deployments himself. Offered advice about staying connected with home. The conversation felt different now. Every helpful suggestion. Every sympathetic response. Every piece of advice about managing money overseas. He'd been gathering intelligence. I pulled up Marcus's gaming profile. Listed location, Denver, Colorado. Same city as the suspicious logins on my accounts. My phone buzzed. Another text from the unknown number. You always were too trusting, Griffin. Made this almost too easy. I screenshot the message and opened a new browser window. Started reverse searching the phone number. It came back to a prepaid carrier. No registered owner information. But I had something better than a name. I opened our gaming platform and checked Marcus's recent activity. He'd been online 2 hours ago. Same time the insurance claim was filed. Same time my bank accounts were accessed. I scrolled through his profile more carefully. His military service claims didn't add up. Said he'd served in Afghanistan in 2019, but mentioned details that were wrong. Unit designations that didn't exist. Base names that were incorrect. Marcus Chen wasn't a veteran. He was a fraud. I called my buddy Jake Morrison, a cybersecurity specialist stationed at Fort Gordon. We'd gone through basic training together 8 years ago. Jake, I need a favor. Someone's been using my identity to commit fraud. How bad? 23,000 so far. Maybe more. Jake whistled low. Send me everything you've got. Phone numbers, email addresses, account information. I'll run it through our systems. I forwarded all the screenshots of the fraudulent claims, banking records, chat logs with Marcus, the threatening text messages. 30 minutes later, Jake called back. Griffin, this is bigger than identity theft. Your guy's been running this scam on multiple service members. I found similar patterns targeting at least 6 other deployed soldiers. How many others? Hard to say. But the phone number you gave me? It's connected to a network of prepaid accounts, all purchased in the Denver area over the past year. I felt the pieces clicking together. Marcus hadn't just targeted me. He'd built an entire operation around exploiting deployed military personnel. There's more, Jake continued. The email address used for your insurance claim? It's linked to a fake identity. Marcus Chen doesn't exist. Real name appears to be Tyler Brennan, 28 years old, lives in Lakewood, Colorado. Criminal history? Clean record. This might be his first major operation. I opened my laptop and searched for Tyler Brennan in Lakewood. Found a social media profile. Same profile picture as Marcus Chen's gaming account. Same person who'd spent months earning my trust. The profile showed a comfortable lifestyle. New truck in the driveway. Recent vacation photos. Expensive electronics. All funded by stolen military benefits. My phone rang. Unknown number. I answered without speaking. Griffin, you there? Marcus's voice. Confident. Casual. I'm here. Figured you'd have found out by now. You always were sharp during our raids. Why? Why not? You guys are deployed for months. Easy targets. Nobody's watching your accounts closely. Perfect setup. How many others? Marcus laughed. You really want to know? 12 active cases. Made over 200,000 in the past year. Your 23 was just this week's take. I kept him talking while recording the call. How'd you get my banking? Information? You gave it to me, remember? All those helpful conversations about managing money overseas. You told me your bank names, your security questions, even your mother's maiden name when we were talking about family. Every friendly conversation had been a data gathering session. The insurance claim was brilliant, Marcus continued. Used your status to claim you'd been in a car accident. Said you needed immediate medical coverage. They fast-tracked everything. And the bank transfers? Your own devices, Griffin. I cloned your phone's authentication when you downloaded that banking app I recommended. Been accessing your accounts for months. The app he'd suggested. The one that promised better security for deployed personnel. It had been malware. You made one mistake, I said. What's that? You got greedy. And you called the wrong soldier. I hung up and immediately contacted Fort Benning's Criminal Investigation Division. This was beyond civilian fraud now. This was targeting active military personnel during COC. Within 2 hours, I had a case number and a federal investigation underway. The Defense Intelligence Agency moved faster than I expected. Agent Lewis called me at 0600 the next morning. Captain Donovan, we need you back stateside immediately. This case involves multiple military installations and active personnel. We're treating it as a national security issue. 48 hours later, I was sitting in a sterile conference room at Fort Gordon, Georgia. Agent Lewis was younger than I'd imagined. Sharp suit. Sharper eyes. She spread Marcus's file across the table like at a crime. Marcus Chen. Real name Marcus Caldwell. 28 years old. No military service. Lives in Phoenix, Arizona. He's been running this operation for 18 months. The photos showed his real house. Modest. Nothing like the lifestyle he displayed online. The gaming profiles were all fake, Lewis continued. He researched military personnel through social media, found deployed soldiers, built relationships over months, gained trust through shared gaming experiences. She pulled out a thick folder. 14 confirmed victims. Total damages exceed $300,000. Your case broke it open because you recorded the confession. What's the plan? We're setting up a controlled meet. He thinks you're still deployed. We'll use that. Agent Lewis handed me a script. You're going to call him. Tell him you want to make a deal. Say you're impressed by his operation and want in on it. The plan was simple. Marcus would meet me at a coffee shop in Phoenix. I'd wear a wire. Get him to detail his entire operation on tape. Federal agents would be positioned throughout the area. He's paranoid but greedy, Lewis explained. The promise of an inside military contact will override his caution. I made the call that afternoon. Marcus answered on the second ring. Griffin? Thought you were done with me. I've been thinking about what you said. About the money. Silence. Then, keep talking. I'm rotating back to the States next month. I could feed you information. Names, schedules, banking details. You serious? Dead serious. But I want 50% of everything we make together. Marcus was quiet for 30 seconds. Meet me in Phoenix. Thursday, 2 p.m. There's a coffee shop called Desert Grounds on Camelback Road. I'll be there. Come alone, Griffin, and bring proof you're serious. Account numbers. Something that shows you're committed. Agent Lewis smiled when I relayed the conversation. Perfect. He's taken the bait. Thursday arrived cold and clear. Phoenix looked different from the air. Sprawling. Desert stretching in every direction. I'd never been here before, but Marcus thought I was flying in from overseas. The wire was smaller than I'd expected. Taped under my shirt. Invisible. Agent Lewis tested it twice before I left the hotel. Remember, we need him to confess to the full scope. Names of other victims. How he accesses accounts. The insurance fraud process. Everything. Desert Grounds was exactly what I'd pictured. Small. Crowded. Perfect for a clandestine meeting. I arrived 15 minutes early and chose a corner table with clear sightlines. Marcus walked in at exactly 2 p.m. He looked different in person. Shorter. Nervous energy. He scanned the room twice before approaching my table. Griffin. He sat down without offering to shake hands. Marcus, you look different than I expected. Quote, changes people. He ordered coffee. Black. I stuck with water. We made small talk for 5 minutes. Gaming. Weather. Nothing substantial. So, Marcus finally said, you're really interested in this? Show me how it works. Marcus pulled out his laptop, opened it carefully so only I could see the screen. I've got a system. See this spreadsheet? 14 active marks. Your row is highlighted. The spreadsheet was detailed. Names, ranks, locations, bank information, amount stolen, dates of last contact. How do you get their banking details? Social engineering mostly, gaming conversations. People trust their squad mates. They share everything. Marcus clicked to another tab. Insurance claims are the real moneymaker. I file fake accident reports. Use their status to expedite processing. Military personnel get priority treatment. What about the bank transfers? Malware apps. I create fake banking security apps. Tell them it's military specific. They download it thinking it'll protect their accounts overseas. Instead, it gives me complete access. I leaned. How much total? 312,000 so far. Your 23 was small compared to some. Got 47,000 from a Marine in Afghanistan last month. Names? Marcus hesitated. Why do you need names? I want to make sure you're not targeting anyone I know. Small military community. He scrolled through the list. Read off 12 names, ranks, units, current locations. Each name was another federal crime. The beauty is, they never reported immediately, Marcus continued. They're deployed, limited communication. By the time they figure it out, I've moved the money through multiple accounts. What about when they get back? Most don't pursue it. Military personnel hate paperwork. They write it off as a hazard. I kept him talking for another 20 minutes. He detailed every aspect of his operation, the fake profiles, the relationship building process, the technical methods for accessing accounts, the insurance fraud procedures. So you're interested? Marcus asked finally. Definitely. When do we start? I'll need your current account information as proof of commitment. I slid a folder across the table. Everything's in there. But I want to see you process a claim first. Show me it actually works. Marcus opened the folder. Inside were fake account numbers Agent Lewis had prepared. Realistic, but completely fictional. These look good, Marcus said. Give me 48 hours. I'll run a test claim using your information. Small amount. 5,000. If it processes cleanly, we'll scale up. Deal? We shook hands. Marcus packed his laptop and left first. I waited 10 minutes before walking outside. Agent Lewis was waiting in an unmarked sedan 2 blocks away. How'd it go? Got everything. Full confession. Names of other victims. Technical details. He's planning to use fake information I provided for a test fraud. Perfect. We'll arrest him when he attempts the fraudulent claim. The arrest happened 36 hours later. Marcus had filed an insurance claim using the fake account numbers. The moment he submitted the paperwork, federal agents surrounded his house. I watched from a surveillance van parked across the street. Marcus came out in handcuffs. No resistance. He looked smaller than he had in the coffee shop. Agent Lewis knocked on the van door. It's over. He's confessed to everything. 14 victims. Full restitution will be processed within 60 days. The trial took 4 months. Marcus pled guilty to wire fraud, identity theft, and targeting military personnel. The judge sentenced him to 8 years federal prison and ordered complete financial restitution. I testified via video link from Fort Benning. Described the relationship. The trust he'd built. The systematic way he'd gathered information. The impact on military families. These crimes target our nation's defenders during their most vulnerable moments, the judge said during sentencing. The sentence reflects the severity of betraying those who serve. The other victims were contacted, accounts restored, credit reports cleaned. The military issued new security protocols for deployed personnel. Agent Lewis called me after the sentencing. Your recording broke this case open. Without that confession, we might never have found all the victims. Just glad it's finished. There's something else. The Defense Intelligence Agency wants to offer you a position. Investigating financial crimes against military personnel. Interested? I considered it. Maybe after this. The money was returned to my account within a week. $23,000. Plus interest. Plus damages for the credit impact. But the real victory was knowing Marcus would never target another deployed soldier. 6 months later, I was back at Fort Benning. The whole had ended 3 weeks early. Budget cuts. Political reshuffling. The usual military bureaucracy. My apartment felt different. Smaller. The gaming setup I'd shared with Marcus was gone. Sold it the day I returned. Bought a treadmill instead. The nightmares had stopped. No more dreams about fake insurance claims or surveillance vans. Sleep came easier now. Agent Lewis called twice a month. Updates on similar cases. New fraud patterns targeting deployed personnel. The Defense Intelligence Agency position was still available. "We need someone who understands how these predators operate," he said during our last conversation. "Someone who's been inside their process." I was considering it. The work felt important. Necessary. My credit score had recovered completely. 812. Higher than before Marcus destroyed it. The financial institutions had been thorough in their restoration efforts. The other victims had reached out. Emails mostly, thanking me for the investigation, for the recordings that broke the case open. 2 had invited me to visit their families. I had started teaching a class at the base legal office. Financial security for deployed personnel. Warning signs of fraud. How to protect accounts during overseas assignments. The JAG officers were receptive. They'd seen too many cases like mine. Soldiers returning home to discover their identities stolen, their benefits fraudulently claimed, their trust weaponized against them. "The key is limiting information sharing," I told the latest group of interns. "Even with people you trust, especially online relationships." One intern raised her hand. "What about gaming friends? People you've known for years?" "Those are often the most dangerous. They have the most access, the most detailed personal information, the longest time to plan." I train JAG interns in detecting benefit scams. The work feels like redemption, like turning Marcus's betrayal into something useful. The insurance companies had updated their verification procedures. Multiple authentication steps for deployed personnel. Cross-reference checks with military databases. Harder for fraudsters to exploit the system. Marcus was serving his sentence at a federal facility in Ohio. No contact allowed. No letters. No phone calls. The restraining order would last until his release. 8 years felt appropriate. Long enough for him to understand the impact. Short enough that he might rebuild his life afterward. I didn't hate him anymore. The rage had faded into something colder, more practical. He'd made his choice. Faced the consequences. The system had worked. My new apartment overlooked the training fields. I could watch soldiers preparing for. Learning skills that might save their lives overseas. Skills that wouldn't protect them from friends who betrayed their trust. But that's what the classes were for. What the new protocols addressed. What Agent Lewis and his team investigated every day. The work continued. The mission evolved. The threats adapted. But for now, sitting in my quiet apartment, watching the sunset over Fort Benning, I felt something I hadn't experienced in months. Peace. It was finally over, and the silence felt earned.